Good morning. It is Monday. We wrap up the end of September and begin the 1st of October in this week. That'll be kind of fun. And I always like Mondays. Mondays are kind of a cool day. Monday's a good time to get focused and direct your energy for the week. I oftentimes try to plan that out, map that out in my head on Sunday afternoon. And so I've been thinking about this week's Bucket Talks and what I wanted to present in this week's Bucket Talks. I want to go back to the very early days and one of the early conversations that took place in that bucket conversation in the barn. One of the early things that I did with my dad was I helped him to extract, and this was really interesting, I helped him to extract about 12 miles of telephone poles. There was a string of telephone poles that had been replaced. They went in and buried the telephone lines. And so they took those telephone lines, they wanted to remove the poles. So my dad bought that string of poles to remove them. And we would extract them out of the ground, take them home, clean them up, check them for structural integrity. And we would use them to build things. We built some buildings for the neighbors. We built some buildings for us and for some other things. And so one day we're sitting in the barn and he said, you know what the secret to pole construction is? And I said, no, they're easy. We put the poles up, stick the stuff on top of it. It works really well. He said, the great thing about pole construction is this, and it's a great lesson for you to learn for life, is that what you do with a pole in a pole construction is that good morning, Mohawk Joe, how are you doing, Bill? Good to see you, man. What you do is you're transferring the weight of what happens on the roof, or on the second floor, or wherever that weight load comes in at. You're trying to transfer that in the straightest line possible to the ground, where you have a solid foundation. You're wanting to transfer whatever, whether it's a snow load or whatever it is, you're going to transfer that load in as straight a line as possible to the foundation. You want to take the shortest path that's possible. Now, sometimes that means you have an overhang, and how far can that overhang go without creating a problem? And that led into a great conversation. But I'll never forget, he took a string and a plumb bob, and he said, the strength is when you go as straight a line as possible from the top to the bottom. And I've been thinking about that for the last couple of weeks, how important that is to what we're going through right now. We've been going through a really, really tough time. It's kind of like a heavy snow load on the roof. We've had a lot of stuff packed down on top of us. And in the process of that, we've got to get that weight load the straightest line as possible to our foundation. What's your core values? What's your foundation? What is that foundation that will sustain the load? And you want to transfer that load as quickly as possible to that foundation, because that's what holds you up. It's your core values that hold you up. The people who've struggled the most in the midst of all of this have been people who've struggled because the foundation's not in a straight line. You've got to transfer that load, transfer the difficulties that we're facing today, transfer this. Okay, it's time for us to get started again. It's time for us to get to ramp up, to get engaged, to begin to do the things that we set out to do. Somebody said today I had to take a little sidestep. Yes, we did a little sidestep. A square dance, whatever it is that you want to throw in there, whatever dance term that works. We've had to do all of those things, but now it's time to get on the floor and make it happen. But for today, I've been thinking about this pole barn thing and all of these poles, and why we could take old telephone poles and create an amazing structure out of them is because we were transferring the load in a straight line to the foundation. If we can learn how to transfer the load, whatever the day brings, whatever the week brings, whatever the year brings, 2020, if we can transfer that directly to our core values, the core values will hold it up. It's the core values that make it happen. Does that make sense? I hope you understand what I'm trying to say here is that whatever the load is, get that load to that core value as quickly as possible. We'll talk about core values this week. and what that foundation looks like. But today, I just want you to see we've got to transfer the load in as straight a line as possible. Sometimes there's an overhang. Sometimes there's an extra load. Sometimes the pitch of the roof makes a difference. All of those things that happen on top all have to be transferred to what's happening down below. So we're going to talk about how do we transfer that load to the foundation this week. Thank you for joining me on this Monday. Thank you to all of those of you who've commented. I'll be following up with you in just a minute. But I look forward to having a great week this week. Y'all have a great day. I'll talk to you soon.